Hi, Laine. Thank you for joining me and being a guest on the Resilient Entrepreneur Show.
Hello, I'm Lainey. Nice to meet you.
Lainey, you are the owner of L&B Digital Marketing, an email marketing consultant, a business strategist, and you've been an entrepreneur now for about 10 years. So tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah, so I started my business. I always wanted to be a business owner. I just needed the right time to happen. So my business started in 2015 after, of course, working for great companies, classic story of getting poached by a startup. And then that was all about a big lie. And I decided to go out on my own then. And I decided, since I've been in the email marketing world for so long, that I saw this hole in the market where there was either these really large agencies or nothing at all. And these larger agencies were telling these companies what systems to use, what strategies to use, basically handing this toolbox over to all the companies, no matter what the company's needs were. So I focus on being really customizable, and I go in and I do an audit with all of their email marketing platforms that they're using, if they do have multiple platforms, their CRM, and we go in to dig in what's working, what's not. And then from there, we can work on an email strategy and identify which tools are the right tools for them and go for them from there. So I try to focus on what the company needs.
I love that. And I'm assuming you're working with maybe smaller or mid-sized companies and not large companies because the tool set probably changes if you have 100 employees or 1,000 employees or revenue size if you're under 10 million or if you're 100 million size company,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And I've worked with all size companies. I find that mid-size companies are my sweet spot. I've worked with enterprise, I've worked with startups, and I'm always happy to have those conversations. But to your point, I feel like enterprise companies, it's a lot harder to nail down exactly what they need because there are so many hoops to jump through and there's a lot of red tape. So mid-sized companies are at that sweet spot where they're growing and they're eager to learn and they're eager to get the right tools in place to get to enterprise level.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And the customized is important because it's not a one size fits all
No.
prescription. I also think most of us as entrepreneurs and founders left corporate, experienced corporate. We all had to get some experience before people would hire us as consultants, right?
Yeah.
Um, but then we realized that like there's a gap. There's something that we could do better, take care of customers better, be more personalized and customized, more like white glove concierge approach that um, is being dismissed by a lot of the larger corporations because they're probably just profit driven and not necessarily willing to do a lot of that heavy customization, the one offs that a smaller firm can accommodate and be more flexible with.
Yeah, exactly. And I find that a lot of these companies are also just working so hard so fast that they're doing things in more of a reactive way versus having the time to kind of sit back, take a step and look at, okay, what is the goal of what we're doing? If we're paying for these email marketing platforms, let's step back and do it the right way and say, okay, our goal for this is X, and how do we get there? And target the right audiences to do it.
Awesome. I know we were talking a little bit about the evolution of LinkedIn and email marketing and AI.
Mhm.
Some of my always like beginner quick questions for people, especially with your background, would be what, well, do you use AI in your business right now? And how has AI disrupted what you do?
Yeah, I absolutely use it. I think we're all kind of forced to use it at this point. I do admittedly have a love-hate relationship with AI because I think it's so great if it's used correctly. I see a lot of people, especially in my industry, using AI, especially things like ChatGPT, where they're just putting in email content and literally copying and pasting it and just saying, okay, here we go. And, they just want to get things done. So they're kind of abusing it because you still have to know that what you're sending out as an email is reflective of you and your brand. And so I use AI for content, but I always start with a framework that I write first. And then I have ChatGPT or Claude, whatever you're using, edit some things. And then I still have to review it and say, okay, this isn't right, or this isn't sounding like the brand. We need to change this. So I do use a lot of those tools for content, but I also use a lot of the tools that are already built into a lot of the email platforms now. They all have AI features. And so it's absolutely making our lives easier. So
Yeah.
I say use it, just don't abuse it.
I think that's fair, right? I think we always talk about keeping the human in the loop and not just
Yeah.
fully automating.
Hmm.
And I think the audience, the recipient of the message, is being wiser to AI. Like maybe 2 years ago, people wouldn't have known
Hmm.
it was an AI generated message, but the lack of personalization or customization, or the template's gone wrong where it's like bracket, variable, bracket, and it doesn't replace your company name because it couldn't find it and it still gets sent and stuff, right? Like the sloppiness and the abuse of AI is really what turns off maybe a prospective or potential customer. Um, what is the best software tool that you just can't live without? It can be a marketing platform or tool. I don't know if you're affiliated or a certified,
Hmm.
Salesforce, HubSpot person, or it can be unrelated. It could be like, I can't live without a calendar app.
Yeah, I know. Gosh, there are so many. And I mean, yes, I am certified in HubSpot, Salesforce, Pardot. I still call it Pardot, even though it's cloud engagement, account engagement. It's still Pardot to me.
Okay.
It's easier to say. And I'm also certified in MailChimp. So I'm a partner of a couple of these platforms and I do really enjoy them. Obviously, I can't live without an email platform, but for me personally in my everyday business life, I need Asana for project management and my calendar app for sure. I live and die by calendars. If it's
Yes.
not in there, it's not happening.
I think for me, the calendar app has just taken off all that back and forth and coordination of like, does this date or time work? Does this date or time, like, so much easier, just book. And then I have my calendar kind of full. Now I have to like look in advance and be like, who are these people that I'm meeting with so I can prepare for those meetings. But I love the calendar app.
Yeah.
All right.
Mhm.
Well, we're going to start with the easy story to share. You've been a business owner for 10 years now, which is fabulous, a whole decade. What is your proudest achievement as an entrepreneur, and how did it happen?
I think, first of all, being in business for 10 years
Right?
is an
Huge
achievement in
achievement. What
itself.
is it, like 90% fail in the first year or something? And like
Yeah.
10
I
years is like a proven business. Yeah.
I know, which is so funny because I just sometimes still feel like I'm in the first year. um, but I do think that just having really good clients and having them refer me is probably the biggest achievement. I mean, I could say, I have all these certifications and all of these things that I've been speaking and all of this, and those are achievements. I do love public speaking, but I think having good clients who actually believe in what you do and want to refer you and keep the relationship going, that's my biggest accomplishment because relationships are everything. I mean, that's literally how I started my business. I just had coffee with anyone and everyone. And now it's, they're buying me, they're working with me. Um, Not only my subcontractors, but they're originally buying from me. So it's important to me that we have a good relationship.
Yeah. I think reputation and relationship, which means like if someone's going to refer you, that means you did a good job. You delivered what you said you would do. You did good work.
Yeah.
You earned the referral.
Mhm.
Um, I'm assuming also because of what you do, are you good at like being pretty specific about who your target client would be? Like who is a good client? Like having a very like focused, narrow, yes, I want to work with this type of company or client? Or did it start a little broad, like anyone that will send business my way? Yes. And then has it gotten more narrowed in the last 10 years?
Yeah, absolutely. It was broad. Those first probably 1 or 2 years, I just said yes to everything and anything just to kind of get experience and then get obviously income going. Um, and I said yes to things that I didn't even want to do. I mean, when I first started, I was like, oh, I'll do social and I'll do SEO and I'll do email too. And I was like, I can do everything. And quickly realized that first of all, no, I hate doing social media and I hate doing SEO. And also, I those are like three separate jobs. So I quickly realized, okay, I need to go back and stick with what I enjoy working on, which is marketing operations, implementing systems, email marketing strategy, and stick to that. And once I did that, it was a matter of, okay, I'm still saying yes. And now I need to feel comfortable to say no to certain clients and say this isn't a good fit because maybe they aren't at a stage where they're ready to grow or they're not open to new alternatives from what they were doing in the past, or they're just, a jerk of a client. I just
Yeah.
don't want to work. I mean, I can say no to jerks now. So
Which is a
yeah,
privilege that you earn after being in business for a few years. And when you're not in starvation survival mode anymore, but you're trying to grow and thrive, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, yes, it's a good feeling to say no.
I think that's the best advice is like you need to know what your strength is, what you're good at, and then be willing to be like, this isn't me. And hopefully you have a referral partner or other people. You're like, that's not me, but you know who does SEO really well? Let me refer you over here.
Hmm.
I do a lot of that partner referrals. And I think initially it's hard to be like, this is my ideal client. I'm looking for this person because you're afraid you're going to say no or miss opportunities with a bigger
Exactly,
audience.
exactly. Hmm.
All right. Well, we also know that the title is Resilient Entrepreneur Show, that you have to be resilient as a business owner, that success is not easily achieved without its challenges, that there's a lot of lessons to be learned in the first 1 or 2 years of business ownership, things that are mistakes that were made or fail forward moments that were learning opportunities on your growth journey. Are you willing to share one of those moments with us?
So many.
Or which one would you be willing to share?
Yeah. There's so many. I mean, there goes from everything from, not having the right processes in place for a while and learning, okay, I'm failing because I don't have these in place. But I think the biggest one that I learned about is just putting boundaries in place. There was a client who I took on early on in my business, and I had them for a few years. But it was a situation of I took them on so early in my business that I, again, said yes to everything. So I was doing a lot of things and I didn't say no early enough. So it kind of snowballed for a few years where it was like, okay, well, now I'm kind of focused into this bucket that I'm working on with clients, but this one's over here still kind of taking advantage of me because I wasn't the one to say no and tighten up my contract and say, here's the scope and that's it. And that kind of turned into just kind of a big mess because it was a situation of me not knowing what boundaries to put in place and what my contract should say and them taking advantage. So that was really tough. But finally.
And then hard every time you had to multitask or shift over to doing something different if everything else in your life was this. I'm reading a book.
Mhm.
Well, I'm listening on Audible when I walk.
True,
Let's be
true.
real.
Let's be
Uh,
real.
called 10x is easier than 2x, and it talks about like the 80-20, and
Hmm.
like sometimes you have to give up some of that 80% to focus on like that 20%, right? Of like what you do really, really well. And I think that's what you're articulating here
Hmm.
is, the boundaries and the carving out of like the stuff that you don't want to do, delegate your partner
Right.
or outsource, and then the stuff that you do love to do, that's
Hmm.
really what you're going to hone in and focus on.
Yeah. And I think it opens up, not only just your time, but also just your energy to want to keep going and keep going forward because you're doing things you enjoy.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes.
Hmm.
I love that. So we're in a new year. Well, we're actually in March somehow in a new year.
I don't understand that.
We blinked. Now we're here. So let's talk about the future. Like, what is on the plan, and how do you plan to grow your business this year?
Yeah, so like I mentioned before, I've started to do more speaking, which was terrifying. For I avoided it for many, many years, and I finally just, you know, ripped the band-aid and got on a stage. And I do find that I really enjoy that. So I'm doing more public speaking on email workshops and then also a keynotes on being an entrepreneur, and how to kind of just work through all of the noise and the self doubt that you have. So I find that doing email workshops in person in real life is just super, super helpful for a lot of people all at once. And you get to expose what you do to so many different audiences and industries. So I'm hoping to do a lot more of that in the future this year.
Very exciting. Yeah. And I think, you know, the workshop versus the webinar, right? Interactive, they're learning, they're implementing, they're doing while you're versus one directional
Exactly.
a webinar, right? That sounds very cool. So you have some speaking engagements and
Hmm.
some workshops,
Yep.
getting out there for your brand that may or may not lead to more customers, right? Another way to like grow referrals and customers. Do you see any obstacles in your way for this year?
I feel like there's always obstacles.
Time.
I'm definitely, I think, getting in my own way of saying, oh gosh, like nobody wants to hear this. And a lot of that goes into the speaking aspect for me, just because it has always been something that has made me nervous. But once I get up there, I realize, okay, this is the right move and I'm totally comfortable. But yeah, I think it's more of just kind of finding those right opportunities and picking the right ones instead of just any opportunity.
That and courage, right? Because you're putting yourself out there on stage and
Hmm.
again outside of your comfort
Yes,
zone.
yes,
Um, very,
exactly.
very cool. So how can I help?
Wow. Well, I am kind of looking to get more clients on my roster. I had a couple of projects that have died off, which has been, they were such good experiences that now I'm kind of craving a few extra new clients. Um, so I am always looking for that and looking to do more email platform audits. And then any speaking engagements you know of, I am ready to get on the stage.
Love that. Well, if you'd come to Raleigh, I sit on the board for a couple of organizations that do monthly meetings. And so
Oh, yeah.
we'll talk and see if there's a way to get you to Raleigh to
Yeah,
come
I'm
visit.
I'm not far. I'm just in Atlanta.
Yeah. And fill
Mhm.
your calendar with some events that are fun up here in the RTP area.
Yeah, that would be great. I'd love that.
Well, I appreciate Sarah for introducing us. So she was a guest on the show.
Hmm.
Um, and thank you for coming and being open and vulnerable. And it's been a pleasure getting to know you and kind of sharing our past lives in upstate New York.
Yes, yeah, not at all.
And being honest and vulnerable and sharing your story about being an entrepreneur and business owner for 10 years.
Hmm.
Um, so now that you've been on my show, I always ask, who
Hmm.
do you recommend for me to interview next?
Actually, a few entrepreneur friends who I think would love to be on this show. I think you'd get along with them really well too. So I will definitely reach out to a couple of people.
It's easy and like low stress, informal, not high pressure.
Yeah.
Just a good way to share a conversation and then get some publicity together to co-market. So
Yeah, exactly. And they do really cool they have really cool businesses, kind of one in like human design and one is a stylish slash confidence booster. That's totally not her title. I'm botching that completely. She's going to be so mad at me, but we
we didn't use her name. We didn't use her name.
didn't use her name. But I will pass that info along.
Confidence booster. I love it. Well, thank you so much. This has been fun and a pleasure, and I appreciate you spending some time with me.
Yeah, thank you. This was really fun. You're a great host.
Thank you.